Hello everybody and welcome back to another video here on my channel. Today's photography video is related around lenses for beginners. I have around 6 or so options, and then I also have a couple that I have instead of some of the options I'm going to give, or at least what I have like the closest that I do use. These are good almost sub-in type lenses for the most part. So I will be talking about up to 9 different lenses that are, some of them are budget friendly and other ones are really great quality pieces of glass that you might have to save up a little bit, but they are great lenses for across the board, whether you're into street photography, macro, landscape, weddings, or you're just trying to have fun and it's a hobby right now. I hope this video is helpful and that you guys enjoy it, and let's go ahead and jump into the video. We're gonna start this video off with a lens that I honestly do not have and I don't think I've ever shot with. I don't rent lenses. Usually I've always bought lenses, and only one lens that I have is borrowed currently, and it is what I'm filming with. It is the 16-35. It is the professional lineup lens, and I borrowed that from a friend to try and get some landscape photos. So we are going to start off with something that is a little bit expensive. A lot of professional photographers swear by this lens because it is a great versatile lens. It is a zoom lens. It is the 24-70mm. I have thought about getting it in the past, but for right now, I'm okay with the lineup that I do have. I also film and take photos on a Canon 80D, which is right now recording. So I have a crop sensor. So if you have a full frame sensor, you get more out of the lens since it is not a cropped length. And that is one reason I don't stress too much and I make do with what I do have. The 24-70 is both wide, and also you can get a little bit tighter shots since it is a zoom lens and it goes up to 70mm, but it is something that's really great for street photography. It can be used for wedding and you don't have to switch off like if you would a prime lens. It is all around just a very versatile lens, and I will say that they are a little bit pricey. You can find older generations that are either refurbished or maybe off of like Facebook Marketplace, and if you can, definitely save up and either order off Amazon or order off the actual Canon store. I know if you are using Canon, they're really focused on RF lenses, but if you're like me and still have a DSLR, you can still find them, and you can still find them pretty brand new. In place of the 24-70 lens, in my kit at least, I actually just use the 18-135. I know if you're like a really professional, really big photographer, you're probably thinking like this is not a sub-in completely, it's not the exact same thing, but this is the one of the best quality pieces of glass that I do have that I bought in 2019. I did buy this one refurbished, and I think at the time, if it was $500, I paid $300. It was at the time the best lens that I could think of buying. So in place of the 24-70, I do have this. It's the closest I'm gonna get to that range. It is a very good lens. It's not super expensive. It's not the kit lens type plastic. It is metal. And also you still have that range of 24-70, but you also got a little bit before, all the way up to 135. And this is the lens that I use the most right now. I use it a lot because it is one of my longest focal lengths. The aperture on this is 3.5, which isn't the lowest, but it's also not that bad. It's 3.5 to 5.6. So you do get a nice range, and it still has the image stabilization, which I really like in all of my lenses. And I think only one of my lenses now do not have that. So this is a great option in my opinion, because it is more affordable. You still got the wide and the versatile focal lengths to zoom in, and it's pretty good quality for the price that you do pay, and you can get them refurbished or even secondhand. I use this all around for landscape. I've used this a little bit for like closer shots, not necessarily macro, but a little bit tighter. I've used this for portraits, and here recently I've used this for F-16s flying from the Thunderbirds for an air show, and then like the crowd type photos of everybody watching the air show. So this is one of my favorite lenses, and definitely if you have the money, look into it, look into photos, or if you wanted to rent it, see if you even like it. If you are starting out, if you already have it, well then good job. This next lens is a lens that everybody, even professional, will tell you to get it. And it is a very good versatile lens as well. It is a prime lens, and a lot of the time it is really great for having compressed shots, but also you can get close-ups a little bit and nice open areas, kind of like with street photography. It is the 50 mil. This 50 mil is the 1.8. And if I do remember right, it was only $150. Actually, this one might be the newest one because I think I got it for Christmas for my husband in 2020. It is the fastest piece of glass I own. My only downfall is this one that I do have does not have image stabilization on it. There are times, especially now, I'm a little bit more shakier than I was before I was pregnant for some reason. So when I'm trying to record, I don't like honestly using this lens too much because I shake and it's very noticeable in camera. The photo quality though, I love this lens. It's very versatile. I am not always a biggest fan of having a prime lens, or at least a 50 mil on my camera. Like I said, since it is a crop sensor, it's not technically at 50 mil. And there are times where I am just too far away or not where I want to be and I can't necessarily move to get the shot that I want. So I will take this off and switch to like the 18 to 135 in place of, and that's the only downfall about a prime. But honestly, a prime lens is very good to go out, and if you are wanting to do like POV challenges and stuff, this is one of the lenses that is really good because it is very versatile. It's in the middle of the field, and also it will help teach you how to better think about your shots, be more creative because of the fact that you can't just zoom in and you don't have necessarily the widest angle. This is one of the best lenses to have no matter what, and with it not being so expensive, it is even better. Now, if you can afford to get the ones, I don't know how much they honestly run. I feel like they're no more than like $200, maybe $300. If you can get the newest generation of the 50 mil that have the image stabilization in with it, you might as well go get that, but definitely invest into a 50 mil. The very next lens is one that I did have, but while we were stationed in Wisconsin, I did sell it for $75 because it was one of the first generation lenses, and it is the 75 to 300, a good cheaper option of the really expensive 70 to 200. It is a very good affordable lens. You can have that nice focal length. Now, since I did have the older generation, that one did not have the image stabilization as well. And also when you zoomed in too much, it had really bad chromatic abbreviation. That is the purple and green around. So I did get rid of that, sold it for 75 bucks, but I have thought about getting a newer generation one that still has the image stabilization, and I don't remember how much it runs. I think it's around $500, $600. I found them on Amazon, and I don't know exactly if I'm 100% thinking about getting it or not, but I know in certain situations it would have been nice to have that lens again, and it definitely trumped my 18 to 135. So if you can even find it, or if you, when you buy your camera, it is the option to get that, definitely get it. It is one of those lenses that you can have really nice photos. You just have to spend time with it and get used to it. And that is one thing I didn't do. I got frustrated with it, and I probably only used it 2 times and then I sold it. So definitely don't do what I did, but look into it a little bit more if you want more of that focal length. Our next lens is a 100mm macro lens, and this is also one that I have looked into for multiple years, but I have not bought one. Some of the macro lenses can get very expensive, and then other ones you can find refurbished or in really good condition for maybe around $500. They're still very expensive, but I will say a 100mm macro lens is not necessarily just for macro. I personally would use it more for macro. You can use them for portraits and weddings even, and especially like the little details at weddings. It is a versatile lens as well, just not as much as some other ones. This is definitely not a good comparison or a good sub in, but I have taken plenty of macro photos and some of them have turned out, in my mind, kind of good. The way I do this is by taking one of the kit lenses. I just screw on a little macro ring. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I have gotten some pretty decent photos, and it's kind of used, kind of worn. I got my camera in 2017 and I used to try and take a bunch of macro photos with this, and there are times where I have done really good photos and then there's times where I haven't. And here recently I've been getting a little bit better at macro, but I don't do it hardly at all because we are stationed in the desert right now, and there's not really any flowers or anything like that that I would try and take macro photos with like I used to when we lived back home. If you cannot afford a macro lens itself, like an official professional one, I will say, even though the professionals might say this is not a good idea, try using one of these first and get used to having a macro. It is kind of hard at first to work with because it is like a big magnifying glass. You have to be almost right against what you're trying to photograph. So that is where a actual lens would be really nice. Like I said, I have gotten some good photos in my opinion. So definitely, if you get it, just make sure to play around with it, get used to it, and try and see, even if it's like a challenge for you, try and see what kind of photos you can get from a little screw-on macro ring. Going on to one of my last lenses is the actual kit lens, and it is the 18-55. This is honestly what I put that macro lens on, and for the most part, this is my whole setup. This is the only thing I use that lens for now, but this is the kit lens. I don't know how much these actually run, if they run like $50. They're not very expensive. They're made of plastic. They're very cheap quality. Even though they are not the best, that does not mean you shouldn't have a kit lens. Kit lenses are very, very helpful in multiple ways, and some people have created beautiful photographs equivalent to some of the professionals that have the professional line camera lenses, and those people have just used kit lenses. They just have used them longer, work with them more, and also they know how to finesse the camera lens a little bit better so that the end product of the photo looks really good. These are not bad quality completely. You can get really, really decent photos out of them, and definitely it is a great challenge to try and start out with them. Don't skip the kit lenses because they are cheap and they are better to have than not to have at all. The other kit lens is the 55-250, between two lenses, of course, since the last one was 18-55. This basically covers 18 to 250 millimeters. This is a good combination to have. I do believe this one is this one is plastic as well. They both have image stabilization. They both are actually really good. Besides trying to take macro photos, I did prefer the 55-250 a lot more because it just felt like better quality glass, and majority of what I was using at the time required more of that larger focal length. If you are going to get kit lenses, try and get both the 18-55 and 55-250. That way you are covered, and even if it's just you starting out, at least you have a really big range of lenses to start out with. Try to save up and get a macro lens or even a 24-70 if you're doing weddings or landscapes. Or if you want to go big and you want to do a 70-200, that's a very versatile lens that is apparently really great for street photography. Definitely don't diss any of the kit lenses or any of the cheap little attachments. I'm not going to say all of these are good quality. I'm not going to say that necessarily they're the best to use, but definitely don't diss everything until you have tried it. And also, like I said, if you are a little bit more advanced and you want a challenge, it is really good to try and get some of this cheaper stuff or even like the screw-ons and try to make a challenge out of it. It would be really fun. Have fun with photography, and if you ever get to where you want to be, get big, make a lot of money from it, or anything like that, be sure to always stay humble and not necessarily judge people for what they do or don't have, because of the fact that some people choose not to necessarily spend money on lenses and they try at the time to get a better body. They stick with the lenses that come with, but instead they also try to make the best out of it, and sometimes their photos are a lot better than you might think. It's more the person behind the camera, the knowledge of the person behind, how much you play around, how much you challenge yourself, get out of your comfort zone, and also how much you truly want to succeed. All your hard work will pay off. I am not the best photographer, but if you look back from me now, to me in like even just 2017 when I first got my camera, it is a big difference. And it's not the camera doing the work, it's me getting more familiar with my Canon over the time, getting more familiar with lenses. Yes, I have upgraded to some really nice fast pieces of glass, but at the same time, it's more of just getting familiar. There are very good examples. If you watch my last two air show videos, those two are really good examples because my Thunderbird air show video in 2021, the photos were good, I thought at the time, but looking back at them, they weren't as good. They were very far away, and I didn't know how to photograph F-16s that were actually flying because I had never done non-stationary F-16s. So if you fast forward after watching that video to the 2022 Thunderbird Air Show, you will see a big difference. I learned where to go and I learned what settings to use, and it was all the same exact camera lens. It was the 18-135, and so that is just an example of how it doesn't matter what gear I had. It honestly was just a year difference, and also having the experience of the first air show teaching me with the second air show and knowing a little bit more when the second air show came around. And hopefully by next year I will have more knowledge and can get even better photos or have a better lens maybe that's a little bit longer, or if I just use my 55-250. I thought about doing that this year, but I didn't. That is honestly all that photography is. It is just having fun, learning from your mistakes, practicing or getting to know your camera, and obviously putting in hard work, and you will succeed if you try hard and not give up. Thank you all so much for watching my video. I hope you guys all enjoyed it, and I hope that if you are a beginner or were just curious, that this video was helpful and you got a couple ideas of some lenses that you didn't know about or don't have, and hopefully you can find exactly what you are looking for. If you guys could leave a like and a comment, tell me what your favorite lens is if you'd like, or even give me some pointers of some lenses that you think should have been on this list. Thank you all so much for watching again. I'll see y'all next week, and God bless.